Close your eyes for a moment. You're standing by your door, suitcase by your side, the night's still young. The world outside feels quiet, as if it knows you're about to leave it for a little while. You take a deep breath, the faint hum of the taxi waiting down the street reaching your ears. Tonight you're flying to Paris, the city of light, the city of quiet mornings and endless nights, the city that has whispered its name to dreamers for centuries. You climb into the car, watching streetlights drift by like slow comets as the city you know fades behind you. The hum of the tires, the rhythm of your heartbeat, they fall into sync, slow and steady. You're already halfway between wakefulness and the soft pull of sleep. At the airport, the air smells faintly of coffee and rain. A screen glows. Paris, boarding soon. You smile to yourself. You made it. You hold your ticket a little tighter, tracing the letters as if they might whisper something back to you. Hours later, through the oval window of the plane, the world becomes a quilt of lights. Cities, rivers, mountains lost beneath clouds. Time folds. You drift in and out of dreams. You think of what awaits you. The curve of the Seine, the sound of footsteps on cobblestone, the first glimpse of the Eiffel Tower through morning mist. When the plane begins its descent, dawn is breaking. The horizon blushes with pale gold, and clouds ripple like silk. You press your forehead to the glass, and for a second the whole world feels still. Then Paris appears. A silver thread of river winding between rooftops, tiny bridges crossing it like delicate stitches. The pilot's voice is soft, almost like a lullaby. Bienvenue à Paris. You step out into the morning air, cool, damp, carrying the scent of croissants baking somewhere unseen. Your body is tired, but your spirit is awake, alive. The air feels different here. Lighter somehow, laced with quiet promise. Outside the terminal, taxis line up like sleepy cats, their headlights glowing softly. You choose one, sink into the seat, and watch as the city begins to reveal itself. Buildings rise like old friends greeting you after a long time apart. Cafés still closed, chairs stacked neatly on the sidewalks, the faint clatter of delivery trucks echoing through narrow streets. The taxi turns a corner and suddenly you see it, the Seine. Calm, shimmering beneath the waking sky. You can almost hear it breathing. The driver catches your smile in the mirror. "First time in Paris?" he asks. You nod. He chuckles softly. "Then remember this moment," he says. "You'll never forget your first morning here." And as the city begins to unfold before you, you feel it, that soft Parisian magic, slipping quietly beneath your skin. You've arrived. The taxi winds its way up a gentle hill, and soon the city below fades into a watercolor of rooftops and drifting mist. You're headed toward Montmartre, that quiet bohemian corner of Paris that still holds onto the ghosts of painters, poets and lovers. The car stops on a narrow street paved with uneven stones. You step out and stretch, the cool air brushing softly against your face. It smells faintly of bread and rain, a combination that somehow feels like home, even if you've never been here before. The first light of the morning is gentle, not yet golden but pale and sleepy, sliding across old facades and shuttered windows. Somewhere nearby, a bakery door opens, and warm air spills into the street. You follow the scent instinctively, butter, sugar, and something that feels like a memory. Inside, the baker smiles at you, his hands dusted with flour. You point to a croissant, and he nods, wrapping it carefully in parchment. The first bite flakes softly between your lips, warm, delicate, melting. Outside, A small cat stretches in the doorway, as if welcoming the day. You walk slowly through the waking streets. A cafe opens its doors, chairs scraping gently against stone as the owner sets the tables. The hum of a distant accordion drifts from somewhere unseen. You pause, closing your eyes for a second, letting that sound settle into you. Montmartre feels like a dream stitched together from another century. Narrow alleys twist between pastel houses. Ivy crawls up the walls, and every corner hides something waiting to be discovered. You move without hurry. Each step feels like a secret the city is whispering only to you. Soon you reach the top of the hill. The Basilica of the Sacred Heart stands there, bright and silent, its white domes glowing softly against the pale sky. You climb the last few steps, turn around, and see the city below. Paris stretches endlessly, rooftops rippling like waves, the river curling through them like silver thread. The world feels still for a moment. The wind brushes against your hair. You breathe in. It's quiet enough that you can hear your own heartbeat. The bells of the basilica begin to chime. Their sound rolls gently through the morning, slow and soothing. Below, the cafés are filling with laughter, footsteps, the clink of coffee cups. Life is beginning again. You sit on the steps for a while, watching it all, the slow unfurling of a new day. There's something deeply peaceful about it, something that settles deep inside your chest. The city doesn't rush here. It stretches, breathes, opens its eyes slowly. And so do you. You take another bite of your croissant, still warm. The butter melts against your tongue as you watch a street artist setting up his easel nearby. He dips his brush into paint and begins tracing the skyline, the same skyline you're staring at. For a moment, you wonder if you've somehow stepped inside his painting, or if he's painting you into it. The wind shifts. Church bells fade. Somewhere below, a cafe bell rings softly. It's time to go down the hill, to follow where the city leads next. You walk down the winding streets from Montmartre, each turn bringing a new whisper of life. The city has fully woken now, softly, gracefully, like someone stretching after a long dream. The air carries the sound of bicycles, a distant violin, the murmur of voices blending with the rhythm of footsteps. Soon you reach the Seine. The river glows in the late morning light, rippling gently beneath the old stone bridges. On its surface, reflections shimmer, fragments of clouds, rooftops, and passing boats. You stop for a moment by the railing, watching the water drift by, as if it's carrying stories from one century to another. The air smells faintly of coffee and river mist. You can hear laughter echoing from a nearby boat, a group of friends sharing breakfast as they drift beneath the Pont Neuf. You smile, caught between reality and something dreamlike, as if the whole city exists just slightly out of time. A small bookstall catches your eye. The old books are stacked in uneven towers, their spines faded, pages curled from years of hands and weather. You pick one up at random, a poetry collection, the words soft and romantic, written by someone long gone. You don't need to understand every line to feel its meaning. It's all there in the rhythm, in the quiet ache between each verse. Breeze picks up. The leaves of the nearby plane trees tremble, scattering golden light over the path. Across the river, you see Notre Dame rising above the rooftops, silent but powerful, its reflection dancing in the water. For a long time you simply stand there, breathing, listening, existing in that perfect fleeting moment. You keep walking. The bridges come and go. Pont des Arts, Pont au Change, Pont Neuf again. Each one feels like a new page in a story you're slowly writing just by being here. Artists line the banks, sketching, painting, lost in their own worlds. A woman hums softly as she paints the river. A man sits nearby, reading aloud from a small notebook, his voice barely louder than the wind. You find a bench and sit down. Pigeon lands nearby, pecking at crumbs. Somewhere behind you, a musician begins to play the accordion. The melody drifts across the river, slow and wistful. It's the kind of song that makes you think of moments you never lived but somehow still remember. The world feels smaller here, as if everything, every bridge, every voice, every echo, is breathing in rhythm with you. The clouds part, and a thin ray of sunlight spills over the water. It catches on the ripples, scattering golden light across your face. You close your eyes for a moment. The warmth feels like a gentle hand resting on your cheek. You could stay here forever, you think. Just watching the river carry the city away and bring it back again, endlessly. You open your eyes. The day is still young, and Paris is calling you deeper into itself. Through the winding streets, through the scent of jasmine and fresh bread, toward places you haven't yet dreamed of. You stand, stretch, and take one last look at the Seine. The water glimmers, the wind hums, and for a second, you're not sure where the world ends and your dream begins. You leave the river behind, crossing a small stone bridge that leads you into the heart of the Latin Quarter. The shift is gentle but unmistakable. The air here feels different. It carries the scent of roasted coffee, the faint musk of old paper, and the promise of conversation. The streets are narrower, the walls closer, lined with ivy and chalk-written cafe menus. There's a quiet hum of life that doesn't rush. Here, time moves slower, as if it has nowhere else to be. You stop at a corner cafe with wooden tables spilling onto the sidewalk. A few students sit reading in silence, their cups steaming beside them. The waiter nods when you sit down. He doesn't ask for your order. Maybe he can already tell what kind of morning you're having. Moments later, a cup of café crème appears in front of you, creamy and warm. The first sip melts into you like sunlight. It's smooth, comforting, a pause in motion. Around you, people speak softly in languages that rise and fall like waves, blending into the hum of the city. You don't need to understand. The melody of it is enough. Across the street, a small bookshop catches your attention. The door is propped open, a bell chiming softly each time someone enters. You finish your coffee, stand and step inside. The air smells like dust and ink, like history that refuses to fade. Inside, rows of shelves tower above you, bending slightly under the weight of words. The owner, an elderly man with kind eyes and ink-stained fingers, greets you with a quiet smile. You wander between the aisles, running your hand along the spines. Every book feels alive somehow, whispering tiny fragments of thought, memory, and love. You pick one at random, an old travel diary. The handwriting is delicate, looping across yellowed pages. You read a few lines and realize it belonged to someone who once wandered these same streets, long before you. Their words feel like an echo of your own thoughts. I came here to find something I didn't know I had lost. You close the book, heart full. Outside, the sun has risen higher, casting long golden stripes across the pavement. You buy the diary, tucking it carefully into your bag, a quiet promise to continue someone else's unfinished journey. As you walk again, you notice the sound of church bells in the distance. Their tone is softer here, almost shy. The buildings around you lean close, their shutters half open like sleepy eyes. You pass a street musician playing violin, his bow gliding gently across the strings. The melody weaves through the air, settling on your shoulders like a warm shawl. You pause on the sidewalk listening. People move around you, yet no one seems to hurry. The entire neighborhood breathes in rhythm. Coffee poured, pages turned, laughter spilling from an open window. It feels like the city is telling you a secret. That beauty doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. You continue walking deeper into the maze of streets. The sounds of life blend into a gentle hum behind you. The clink of cups, the rustle of paper, the low murmur of morning talk. And then you reach the edge of the quarter, where sunlight spills over the rooftops and the breeze carries the scent of roses from a nearby garden. You take a deep breath. The air is soft, golden, and full of stories. You're not just passing through Paris anymore. You're becoming a part of it. You walk south from the Latin Quarter, letting the rhythm of your steps match the city's slow heartbeat. The noise fades, replaced by birdsong and the rustle of leaves brushing against the wind. Before long, the narrow streets open into something vast and calm, the Luxembourg Gardens. At first glance, it doesn't even feel like you're in the same city. The air is different here, cleaner, lighter, touched with the scent of blooming roses and fresh-cut grass. Paths lined with chestnut trees lead you inward, where time seems to loosen its grip. You pass a small fountain surrounded by empty chairs. A few early risers sit quietly, reading newspapers or staring into the stillness. The sound of the fountain's water, that steady trickle, that endless loop, feels almost like breathing. You slow your pace, drawn toward it. A child runs by chasing a wooden sailboat, laughing as it glides across the surface of a pond. The ripples spread outward, catching light like scattered silver coins. You smile. That sound, that laughter, it fits perfectly here. It doesn't disturb the peace. It completes it. You find an empty chair beneath a linden tree and sit down. The metal is cool against your skin, the air gentle on your face. Around you, the garden lives quietly. People reading, pigeons cooing, a gardener trimming hedges in the distance. You lean back, close your eyes for a moment, and let your mind drift. The warmth of the sun seeps through your eyelids. It feels like you're floating, somewhere between a dream and waking life. When you open your eyes again, everything feels softer. The colors seem warmer, the shadows longer. The garden has its own rhythm, a slow pulse that you begin to match without even realizing. Nearby, a couple strolls hand in hand. An elderly man feeds breadcrumbs to a group of doves. A young woman paints quietly beside a marble statue, her brush moving like a whisper. You watch the scene unfold, each moment as gentle as the one before it. It's strange how a city known for its energy and motion can hold so much stillness. But that's Paris. It moves and rests all at once, like breathing in and out. You reach into your bag and take out the diary you found earlier in the bookshop. The pages flutter open easily, as if the garden itself is inviting you to read. The words on the paper seem to echo what you feel. Here I learned how to be still, and in the stillness I found myself. You close the book, letting your fingers rest on its worn cover. For a long time you just sit there, listening to the sound of wind through the trees, the murmur of footsteps on gravel, the soft rhythm of your own heart. The sunlight shifts, shadows stretch across the path, and a cool breeze moves through the garden, carrying the faint scent of jasmine. It brushes across your skin, a gentle reminder that the day is moving on, even if you're not ready to. You stand slowly, stretch, and take one last look around. The fountains glimmer, the flowers nod in the breeze, and somewhere in the distance, a bell begins to ring. It's time to wander again, to follow the sound of that bell through the streets, toward whatever quiet corner of Paris is waiting next. You take a deep breath. The air tastes of sunlight and memory. And then, with slow steps, you leave the garden, carrying its peace with you. By the time you reach Saint-Germain-des-Prés, the light has begun to soften. The golden hour in Paris isn't loud or dramatic. It slips in quietly, like a whisper between buildings, painting the windows with a warm glow. The streets here feel different, older, wiser. They've seen centuries of poets, lovers, and dreamers wander through them, leaving behind echoes that never fade. You walk slowly past cafés whose names you've heard in novels. Café de Flore, Les Deux Magots. Their terraces are alive with murmured conversations and the clinking of silver spoons against porcelain cups. Waiters in crisp white shirts move gracefully between tables, as if part of a well-rehearsed ballet. You stop for a moment at one of them, drawn by the soft sound of jazz floating from a nearby speaker. The notes melt into the hum of voices, forming a gentle harmony that feels almost like breathing. You order nothing at first. You just sit watching. The streets are narrow here, lined with art galleries and old bookstores that have survived wars and time alike. People pass by carrying flowers, sketchbooks, and folded newspapers. The rhythm of their footsteps feels like part of the song playing in the background. Eventually, a waiter approaches with a smile that feels as familiar as the evening itself. You order a glass of wine, deep red, slow and velvety, and let it sit in the light for a moment before taking your first sip. The taste is soft, full of the day that's just ending. Across the street, a musician sets up a small stool, his saxophone gleaming in the sunset. He plays a tune that catches you completely off guard. Slow, soulful, fragile. People stop to listen, some smiling, others lost in thought. You feel the notes settle deep inside you, finding a place that words could never reach. For a while you forget where you are. You forget time. There's only music, the hum of the city, and the feeling that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. The sky fades from gold to lavender, then to soft gray blue. Lamps flicker on one by one, their light pooling onto the cobblestones like melted honey. The city exhales. Evening has arrived. You leave the cafe and wander further into the neighborhood. The streets grow quieter now, the crowd thinning as dinner hours approach. You pass small galleries, their windows glowing from within, each one a tiny world of color and imagination. One window stops you in your tracks, a painting of a woman standing beneath a streetlight, her face half hidden in shadow. There's something haunting about her, something familiar. You stand there for a long time watching her. In her stillness, you see a reflection of yourself, wandering, searching, at peace and restless all at once. The musician's saxophone fades behind you as you walk on. The smell of bread baking drifts from a nearby boulangerie. A light rain begins to fall, not enough to send people running, just enough to make the air shimmer. You pull your jacket a little tighter, smiling to yourself. Paris in the rain. It's everything you imagined it would be, and more. The cobblestones glisten beneath the lamplight. The city slows. Your heart does too. And somewhere deep within that quiet, you feel a thought rise, gentle and true. You're not just visiting Paris anymore. You're belonging to it, one heartbeat at a time. As the afternoon light begins to fade, I climb the hill to Montmartre, the heartbeat of old Parisian Bohemia. The narrow cobblestone paths wind between small ateliers and ivy-covered cafés, each one holding a story, of artists, dreamers, and heartbreaks long turned into songs. The air carries the scent of fresh crepes and roasted chestnuts, mingling with the faint echo of an accordion from a distant corner. I pass by the Place du Tertre, where painters work feverishly under fading sunlight, capturing fleeting moments before the day dissolves into gold. When I reach the Sacré-Cœur, the city unfurls below me, rooftops glowing in soft amber light, the Seine glimmering like a ribbon of silk. I sit on the cool stone steps, listening to a street musician sing a ballad so hauntingly beautiful it feels like time itself pauses to listen. In this moment I realize, Paris isn't just a city, it's a feeling, a soft ache that lingers between beauty and longing. Tomorrow I'll wander again, but tonight, I'll let the whispers of Montmartre follow me into my dreams. Paris after dark feels like another world, softer, slower, and somehow even more alive. The crowds fade, the chatter dims, and what remains is a heartbeat, quiet but steady, echoing through narrow streets that glisten under the touch of recent rain. I walk down from Montmartre, past shuttered bakeries and silent windows. The city has changed its face. The cafés that buzzed with laughter now hum with a low murmur of tired lovers and the clinking of empty glasses. Every lighted window feels like a small universe, and for a second I want to step into each one, to live 100 tiny Parisian lives before dawn. As I cross Boulevard de Clichy, the world turns cinematic. Neon signs flicker against puddles that mirror the Moulin Rouge windmill, its red blades slowly turning as if stirring the night itself. The sound of jazz seeps from an underground bar nearby. Warm saxophone, the gentle brush of drums, a smoky voice that wraps around my thoughts like silk. Follow the music. Inside, the air is thick with nostalgia. The room glows gold beneath dim lights, and the crowd is a collage of stories. Poets, strangers, old souls sipping red wine. A woman in a black dress sings as if she's remembering something she'll never get back. Every word she breathes seems to hang in the air for a moment before falling, heavy and beautiful. Find a seat at the bar. The bartender slides a glass of absinthe toward me without asking. For the dreamers, he says with a smile that knows too much. The first sip burns, then blooms, sharp, herbal, electric. For a moment, everything feels heightened. The clink of glasses, the laughter at the far table, the smoke curling upward like thought made visible. Outside again, Paris glows in reflections. Streetlights shimmer through the mist, each one casting a soft halo over the wet stones. I wander without direction past the Seine, where bridges stretch like ribbons of iron and memory. A couple dances under the Pont Neuf. No music, no audience, just rhythm and rain. I watch them for a while, feeling the kind of peace that only comes when you stop looking for it. The bells of Notre Dame begin to toll in the distance, low and haunting, a reminder that night is always shorter than it seems. I lean against the stone wall by the river and close my eyes. The sounds of Paris, laughter, footsteps, the faraway hum of a taxi, blend with the lingering melody from the bar, until everything becomes a dream that doesn't want to end. And when I finally return to my small hotel near the Latin Quarter, I open the window just enough to let the night in. The curtains move gently with the wind. Somewhere, another song begins. Maybe a lullaby, maybe a promise. As I drift toward sleep, the city outside doesn't fade. It transforms. The glowing lamps become stars, the hum of traffic turns into waves, and Paris, in its quiet midnight form, becomes the sea of dreams. Tomorrow, I'll wake to sunlight spilling through the lace curtains and wonder if any of this was real, or if Paris simply whispered itself into my sleep. When I open my eyes, the city is already awake. softly, quietly, like a secret it doesn't want to share too soon. The curtains flutter in the pale gold of early light, and for a moment I just lie there, half between dream and morning, unsure if the night before truly happened. The music, the absinthe, the couple dancing under the bridge, they linger like mist in my mind. Outside, Paris exhales. The rain has stopped, but the streets are still damp, reflecting the first blush of the sun. I pull on yesterday's coat, still scented faintly with smoke and perfume, and step into the fresh, chilly air. The city smells like coffee and rain-soaked stone, a fragrance so distinct, you could close your eyes and know exactly where you are. The Latin Quarter is slowly stirring. Café owners sweep their doorsteps, and the clatter of porcelain cups breaks the morning silence. Somewhere, a violinist tunes his strings under an awning, his melody catching on the wind. I stop at a corner cafe, one with a fogged window and a single red chair outside, and order a croissant and café crème. The first bite melts in my mouth, buttery and fragile. I sip the coffee, rich and bitter, and watch as life unfolds in slow motion. A man walking his dog, a florist arranging tulips in a metal bucket, two students sharing a cigarette before class. The ordinary looks beautiful here, like every second has meaning if you're willing to look closely enough. I cross the Pont Saint-Michel, the Seine flowing lazily beneath me, green and gold in the rising light. Boats drift by, their wakes curling against the walls, and the echoes of laughter from the deck mix with the sound of water slapping against stone. The city feels like it's writing a poem with each ripple. As I walk along the riverbank, I see the booksellers setting up their stalls, green wooden boxes that open like treasure chests, filled with stories, postcards, and yellowed photographs. I pick one at random, a photo of two lovers in front of the Eiffel Tower, the edges worn, their smiles blurred by time. Someone once held this moment, I think. Now it's floating between strangers. There's something humbling about Paris in the morning. It's not the postcard version, not all grand boulevards and polished facades, but a living, breathing place full of quiet rituals. A woman in a gray coat feeds pigeons on the quay. A baker hums as he stacks baguettes. The city doesn't rush. It simply is. I stop at Ile de la Cite, near the shadow of Notre Dame, where the bells are silent now but the air still carries their memory. The sunlight hits the stained glass just right, scattering colors across the wet stones like tiny miracles. I think of last night again. The jazz, the laughter, the feeling that every heartbeat was part of something infinite. As I sit by the water, sketching the towers in a small notebook, I realize something. Maybe the line between dream and reality isn't as clear as I thought. Maybe some places like this city exist in both. The breeze carries the scent of warm bread from a nearby bakery, and I can't help but smile. The day is beginning, and Paris, even after all its centuries, still feels new. Tomorrow will bring something else. Maybe a goodbye, maybe another story. But for now, in this morning light, I am exactly where I'm meant to be. Somewhere between what was dreamed and what is real. The afternoon stretches lazily over Paris, soft and golden, as if the city itself has decided to pause. I wander back toward the Seine, following the gentle curve of the river where boats drift quietly, their reflections shimmering like melted glass. The hum of the morning has faded. The streets are calmer now, more intimate, almost like they're waiting for someone to notice their subtle beauty. I walk along the Quai de la Tournelle, past green iron railings and stone embankments, where the water laps gently against the walls. The light catches on the ripples, scattering tiny points of gold across the surface. A pair of swans glide smoothly past, their feathers glistening in the late sun. I pause and watch them, mesmerized by the effortless grace in which they move. So quiet, so serene, so completely present. The cafés lining the river are quieter now, their terraces empty except for the occasional solitary reader or painter. I see an old man sitting on a bench with a sketchbook, his pencil dancing across the page as he captures the bridges and the skyline. There's a patience in his movements, a rhythm that slows the world around him. I find a small stone ledge and sit down, letting the city move around me like a gentle current. A soft breeze drifts in from the river, carrying the mingled scents of flowers, warm bread, and the faint tang of water. I close my eyes for a moment and let it wash over me. The sound of water against stone, the distant chatter of a boat tour, the hum of Paris itself. It becomes a lullaby, subtle and unhurried. As I open my eyes, I notice the small details that make this city feel alive in its quiet hours. The curve of a bridge arching perfectly over the river, a pigeon hopping carefully along the edge, the shadow of a tree stretching across the pavement. Everything seems deliberate, each moment like a stroke in a delicate painting. A couple strolls hand in hand along the riverbank, their laughter low and soft, blending seamlessly with the ambient sounds. A street musician plays a cello nearby, the deep, resonant notes echoing against the water. I watch him for a while, letting the music settle into the spaces between my thoughts. It's a calm that seeps slowly, as if the city itself is teaching me to breathe differently. Time stretches. The sunlight softens further, casting long, golden stripes across the cobblestones and water. I take a deep breath and look at the bridges spanning the Seine. Pont Neuf, Pont des Arts, each with its own history, each holding countless stories. I imagine the city remembering them all, carrying them forward quietly, gently, without fuss or fanfare. A small boat passes silently, its wake rippling across the reflective water. For a moment, it feels like the world is moving in slow motion, as if Paris has slowed its pulse just to let me savor the stillness. I lean back and close my eyes again, letting the warmth of the afternoon and the soft murmur of the river lull me. There is nowhere to be, nothing urgent, only the quiet unfolding of time. In this moment, the city is intimate, comforting, and endlessly patient. I let the Seine speak to me in its own language, in the glimmer of water, the subtle breeze, and the soft echoes of footsteps on stone. And I realize that in these quiet hours, Paris is not just a place. It's a feeling, gentle and enduring, that stays with you long after you leave. The sun has shifted, slanting through the windows of Saint-Germain-des-Prés, touching the cobblestones with a warm, golden hue. The streets are quieter now, softer and more intimate. I wander slowly, following the subtle rhythm of the city, letting my eyes rest on details that I would have missed in the busy morning. The curve of a balcony, ivy crawling up a stone wall, a flickering café sign inviting passers-by into its quiet warmth. I stop at a small café tucked into a narrow side street. The door creaks gently as I enter, and the soft chime of a bell announces my arrival. Inside, the air is fragrant with roasted coffee beans and the delicate sweetness of freshly baked pastries. The sunlight filters through lace curtains, casting intricate patterns across polished wooden tables. A few patrons sit quietly, immersed in books or whispered conversations, their presence comforting in its stillness. I choose a corner table by the window and settle into the chair, feeling the warmth of the wood beneath my hands. A cup of steaming tea arrives, its aroma rising in gentle spirals. I take a slow sip, letting the warmth spread through me, and watch as the city outside carries on with its quiet, deliberate pace. A woman across the room reads aloud softly to a friend, her voice barely rising above the soft hum of conversation. The words are tender, poetic, wrapping around the room like a delicate shawl. I listen for a moment, letting the cadence of her reading mingle with the soft clatter of teaspoons and the occasional whisper of the waiter. The cafe seems to exist in its own time, removed from the rush of the world. Each table holds a story, a couple sharing a quiet moment, a solitary writer sketching words onto a notebook, an artist tracing the city's shapes in watercolors. I feel as though I am part of this tapestry, woven gently into the fabric of the day. Outside, the street stretches with lazy elegance. Flower boxes hang from windows, spilling blooms over wrought iron railings. The faint sound of a bicycle bell echoes down the cobblestones. I step outside for a breath of fresh air and inhale the mingling scents of coffee, pastry, and sun-warmed stone. Continuing down the street, I notice an old bookstore with tall, narrow windows. The wooden door creaks softly as I enter. The smell of paper, ink, and time itself greets me, wrapping around me like a familiar blanket. Rows of bookshelves tower above, each spine worn and lined with stories waiting to be discovered. I pick up a small volume of poetry, its pages delicate and golden with age. A few lines catch my eye. The city whispers softly to those who listen, carrying dreams in every stone and shadow. I smile, feeling the truth of it in my bones. Here, in the quiet corners of Saint-Germain, the city's heartbeat is slow, patient, and profoundly alive. The afternoon stretches on, warm and unhurried, and I let myself drift along with it, savoring each small moment. The clink of a cup, the rustle of pages, the soft murmur of voices. As I leave the bookstore and continue my walk, the shadows lengthen, the golden light deepening into amber. The city around me glows, serene and eternal, as if holding its breath in anticipation of the approaching evening. I pause by a small fountain, listening to the gentle trickle of water. In the quiet, I feel Paris speaking again, not in grand gestures but in whispers, in the slow and steady rhythm of life that continues whether anyone is watching or not. And I know that these moments, soft and unassuming, are the ones that will stay with me long after the day fades, tucked into memory like a secret the city has trusted me to keep. The day begins its quiet retreat as twilight seeps into Paris, coloring the city in soft shades of amber and rose. The Seine glimmers under the fading sun, each ripple catching light like tiny sparks dancing across the water. I follow its curve, walking along the quay, feeling the rhythm of the city slow in tandem with my own heartbeat. The bridges span gracefully above me, Pont Neuf, Pont des Arts, and others I can no longer name, their arches casting long reflections into the river. Boats glide silently beneath them, leaving ripples that shimmer and fade, echoing the gentle passage of time. I pause to watch, leaning lightly on the railing, letting the cool evening breeze play through my hair. Streetlights flicker on one by one, their soft halos bathing the cobblestones in a golden glow. The city seems to exhale, shaking off the energy of the day and slipping into a slower, more intimate rhythm. A distant accordion drifts from a hidden corner, its notes curling through the air like smoke. I listen, feeling each sound resonate quietly in my chest. Along the banks, a few couples stroll hand in hand, their laughter low, blending seamlessly with the lapping water. An artist paints at the edge of the quay, capturing the interplay of light and shadow across the river. His brush moves carefully, deliberately, as though he has all the time in the world, And here in this twilight he does. I stop at a small wooden bench, the surface cool beneath my palms. The air is scented with the mingling fragrances of damp stone, blooming flowers, and the faint tang of the river. I take a deep breath, savoring the softness of the moment. Around me, Paris hums in hushed tones. Footsteps on cobblestone, a distant laugh, the whisper of water. The cafés that line the river begin to glow from within, golden light spilling onto the sidewalks. Patrons sit quietly, sipping wine or tea, lost in their own worlds. A waiter carries a tray with careful precision, the clink of glasses like a delicate punctuation in the quiet evening. Across the river, Notre Dame rises in silhouette against the twilight sky. Its towers are dark, yet majestic, casting shadows that stretch across the water. The reflection shimmers faintly, as though the cathedral itself is dreaming, holding the city's stories beneath its gaze. I continue walking, my footsteps soft, unhurried. Somewhere, a pigeon hops along the quay, pausing to look at the river before continuing its quiet journey. A faint bell tolls in the distance, slow and deliberate, marking the passage of time with grace and calm. The city feels intimate now, as if it is sharing a secret with those who take the time to wonder and listen. I close my eyes briefly, letting the sensation of Paris at twilight settle deep into my chest. Every sound, every flicker of light, every gentle ripple in the Seine becomes a lullaby, quiet and continuous. A small boat passes by, its lanterns casting reflections that dance across the water. The river breathes in rhythm with the city, slow and steady, carrying the light and shadows along its winding path. I imagine the centuries of whispers, dreams, and conversations that have floated along these waters, all blending into a single, endless melody. I sit for a while longer, letting the fading day and the coming night wash over me. The colors shift gradually to deeper blues and violets, and the first stars begin to peek through the sky. The world feels suspended, perfect in its delicate balance of light and shadow. Paris at twilight. It is not loud, it is not hurried. It simply is, patient, gentle, and eternal. And in this quiet hour, I feel its heartbeat align with mine, slow and soothing, readying me for the approaching night and the dreams it will carry. Night has fallen fully over Paris. The city is calm now, its earlier energy dissolved into whispers and soft shadows. The Seine reflects the scattered lights of bridges and buildings, each twinkling glow a gentle heartbeat on the water's surface. I walk slowly along the riverbank, every step deliberate, letting the quiet embrace me completely. The streets are nearly empty, save for the occasional late wanderer or lone cyclist. The air carries a delicate chill, just enough to make the warmth of my coat comforting. Each lamppost I pass throws a golden pool of light onto the cobblestones, creating tiny islands of illumination amid the deep, velvety darkness. I pause by Pont Neuf, leaning lightly against the railing. Below, the river flows with unhurried grace, carrying the reflections of the city like memories drifting on water. A faint ripple disturbs the mirrored lights, sending gentle waves across the surface, and I feel an almost hypnotic serenity, as if the world itself is breathing in rhythm with me. Across the river, the silhouettes of historic buildings and distant cathedrals loom softly, their shadows long and mysterious. Somewhere in the quiet, a solitary accordion plays a melody that drifts lazily into the night. Its notes are soft, melancholic, yet comforting, a lullaby meant for anyone wandering under the Parisian sky. The cafés, now closed, leave behind faint scents of coffee, pastries, and wine. Occasionally, a window flickers with the movement of someone reading, perhaps sipping tea, or writing letters they will never send. These small, private moments add to the intimacy of the city at night, making it feel alive without sound or rush. I continue toward Isle St. Louis, crossing the narrow streets that wind like threads between ancient buildings. The riverbanks are empty, the benches unoccupied, yet every surface seems imbued with history, with countless footsteps that have wandered these same paths. I imagine lovers walking here centuries ago, their whispers mingling with the gentle lapping of the water, and I realize that this calm is timeless. A small bridge arcs above me, its lights casting soft reflections in the Seine. I stop and breathe, letting the air fill my lungs with a quiet sweetness, the subtle scent of night flowers and damp stone. In this stillness, every sound is amplified. The ripple of water, the distant murmur of the city, the whisper of my own heartbeat. For a moment, I close my eyes and lean against the cold stone railing. The night seems to stretch infinitely, folding over the city like a protective shawl. The lights from windows and street lamps glimmer like fireflies, scattered yet precise, guiding me silently forward. I open my eyes and see the water shimmer, the reflections undulating in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. I imagine Paris asleep, dreaming softly in its own language, a dream of light and shadow, of footsteps and whispers, of a city that has always known how to cradle the night. I walk onward, feeling the serenity wrap around me like a blanket. The river, the streets, the faint melody of music and laughter in the distance, all blend together into a gentle lullaby. Paris at midnight is a city that whispers, "Rest now, wanderer, you are safe here." With each step, I feel my thoughts slowing, my mind drifting. The city's quiet becomes my own, and I am ready to let the night guide me into the soft, restorative space between wakefulness and sleep. The city is bathed in a delicate, hushed glow as the night deepens. Paris no longer moves. It waits patiently, as if holding its breath. Along the Seine, every lamppost casts a slender column of light that trembles softly on the water's surface. The reflections ripple and stretch, like golden threads weaving an endless tapestry of quietude. I walk along the river, each step slow, almost ceremonial. The cobblestones are cool beneath my shoes, their uneven surface reminding me of the centuries that have passed here, the stories that have unfolded on these very stones. Somewhere above, the moon peeks through clouds, casting a silver shimmer that mingles with the warm glow of the lamps. The bridges glimmer like jeweled arcs. Pont Neuf rises majestically, its arches mirrored perfectly in the water below. The subtle sound of water flowing beneath it harmonizes with the occasional night bird or distant accordion note. I pause mid-bridge, resting my hands lightly on the railing, letting the stillness seep into my bones. The city's buildings, dark and stately, hold quiet secrets. Windows are shuttered or softly glowing, and behind each one, lives continue in gentle rhythms. A faint music drifts from somewhere far off, a melody played on a piano or perhaps a violin, so soft that it is almost imagined. Yet in this imagined space, it is perfectly real. Along the quay, a solitary figure passes, wrapped in a scarf against the night chill. They move slowly, savoring the calm just as I am. Occasionally, a boat glides silently on the river, its lanterns painting the water with soft amber streaks. The scene feels almost suspended in time, fragile and eternal all at once. I find a small stone bench by the riverbank, its surface cool and comforting. Sitting there, I watch the lights and shadows dance together, a quiet ballet of golden reflections and black water. The city hums softly, not with noise but with presence, a gentle pulse that can be felt rather than heard. The air is fragrant with hints of damp stone, the faint perfume of night-blooming flowers, and the distant aroma of warm bread from bakeries that stay open late. Each breath feels like an inhalation of Paris itself, filling me with calm, with peace, with a perfect weightlessness that only nighttime can bring. I close my eyes for a moment and imagine the city as it has always been, a place where dreamers wander, lovers linger, and time slows to let you feel every heartbeat, every whisper, every reflection. The bridges, the streets, the water, all are instruments in a nocturnal symphony, playing only for those who take the time to notice. I lean back slightly, letting the quiet envelop me. Every sound, every shimmer on the river, every distant hum blends into a single lullaby. Paris, in this silent hour, is a city that doesn't demand your attention. It invites you to rest within it, to drift, to dream. And as I sit there, wrapped in the gentle night, I feel the perfect understanding. This city, these moments, will stay with me, tucked in memory like a secret lullaby that hums softly whenever I close my eyes. The streets are quiet now, the city wrapped in a velvet blanket of night. Paris moves only in whispers, in the gentle sway of leaves, in the soft lap of water against the riverbank. I wander slowly, letting the rhythm of my footsteps match the calm pulse of the city, each one a soft drumbeat in the nocturnal symphony. Along the narrow streets of the Marais, gas lamps cast pools of warm light onto the cobblestones. Shadows stretch lazily, dancing with the flicker of each flame. Windows are dark or softly glowing, revealing glimpses of lives paused, frozen in quiet moments. A cat stretched across a windowsill, a lone reader turning a page, a clock ticking gently in the background. I cross the Pont des Arts, leaning lightly against the railing to watch the Seine below. The river moves slowly, carrying reflections of lampposts and distant towers across its surface. The gentle sway of water is hypnotic, a lullaby whispered by the city itself. I inhale the cool night air, faintly scented with damp stone, flowers, and the lingering sweetness of baked bread from a nearby boulangerie. A few night wanderers pass by, wrapped in coats and scarves, their steps deliberate and slow. Every movement feels intimate, part of the same quiet understanding the city seems to offer. There is no rush here, no urgency, only presence, awareness, and the slow, beautiful passage of time. I stop at a small square, the lamplight reflecting in puddles left from the afternoon rain. Each pool mirrors the soft glow, creating miniature versions of the city scattered across the stones. I imagine the centuries of footsteps that have passed here, each one a story, each one adding to the rhythm I feel in my chest. In the distance, a soft melody drifts from a hidden café, a piano playing lightly, almost shyly, with notes that rise and fall like a gentle tide. I close my eyes, letting the music blend with the sounds of the city. Water lapping, leaves rustling, the faint echo of laughter far off. The bridges, the river, the softly glowing lamps. All of it hums with a quiet energy. I continue walking, letting the city guide me, each turn of the street revealing another shadowed corner, another pool of golden light. Every detail is magnified in the stillness, as if Paris itself is showing me the beauty of being awake while the world sleeps. As I walk, I feel a profound calm settling over me. The night is no longer empty or silent. It is alive, intimate, and protective. It invites me to let go, to surrender to the quiet, to drift toward the dreams that wait just beyond consciousness. Finally, I reach a small courtyard, tucked away from the main streets. The fountain bubbles softly, almost imperceptibly, and the surrounding buildings glow faintly under the lamps. I lean against the stone wall, letting the night wrap around me like a gentle embrace. The city hums beneath me, and I realize that here, in this quiet nocturnal world, I can rest completely. With the last traces of thought softening, my eyelids grow heavy. The streets, the water, the light, all dissolve gently into a dreamlike haze. Paris at night has performed its lullaby perfectly, leading me to the tender edge of sleep, where everything is soft, golden, and infinite. The city is completely still now, enveloped in midnight's deepest embrace. The Seine glimmers softly under the dim glow of scattered lampposts, reflecting the stars beginning to pierce the velvet sky. I wander slowly, letting my footsteps fade into silence, feeling as if Paris itself has drawn a gentle curtain around the world, whispering for everything to rest. I pause by a quiet quay, leaning over the stone railing to watch the river move in slow, liquid rhythms. Tiny ripples shimmer in the lantern light, dancing across the surface like delicate fireflies. The sound of the water is soft, continuous, a lullaby older than the city itself, calming every thought, every heartbeat. The buildings around me are quiet, shadows draped gracefully across walls and streets. Windows glow faintly with the life of those still awake, a reader turning a page, a solitary musician practicing softly, someone quietly writing letters they may never send. I imagine all these tiny stories floating through the night, merging into the collective dream of Paris. I cross a small bridge, the iron arches glittering in the soft night. From here, the city stretches endlessly, rooftops, steeples, and cobblestones bathed in the faint magical light of street lamps and stars. Each detail feels like part of a carefully composed painting, where every shadow, every glimmer, every reflection matters. I follow the quiet streets toward a small hotel tucked into the Latin Quarter, where my room awaits. The door closes softly behind me, the faint click merging with the hush of the city. I stand by the window, gazing at Paris in its nocturnal perfection. The river winds lazily below, the bridges arch gracefully, and the lights shimmer like countless tiny promises. I imagine the city dreaming too, centuries of whispers, footsteps, and laughter drifting along the Seine, carried gently into the sky. I feel the stories of Paris brushing against me, tenderly like a soft hand on the shoulder, guiding me to rest. Sliding into bed, the softness of the sheets cradles me. I close my eyes and let the memories of the day, Montmartre, the cafés, the bridges, the music, float freely in my mind. The city hums in quiet harmony with my breath, the lullaby of Paris settling deep within. The river's soft murmur, the gentle rustle of leaves, the faraway echo of a piano, all merge into a seamless, calming melody. I am weightless now, suspended between consciousness and dream, and the city watches over me like a guardian of night. Paris, in all its timeless elegance, has shared its secret, that beauty, serenity, and quiet wonder exist not just in the day, but in the gentle embrace of night. I drift deeper, carried by the rhythm of the city, lulled into a sleep so soft it feels like floating. And as I surrender completely, the city whispers once more, "Rest now. Dream here. Paris holds you safely until the morning light."